On this week's episode of the West Coast Dirt Report, we dive in at the Deming Speedway season opener and take a look at the 1200s and the 600 open class highlights. We also dive in with some SCCT sprint car highlights, a full slate of open wheel racing on the West Coast. Let's get to it. Welcome into the West Coast Dirt Report. I am your host, Blake Anderson. Another great weekend of racing in the Pacific Northwest and up and down the West Coast. Up here in the Pacific Northwest, our sprint car season and open wheel season got off to a start with Deming Speedway opening up their 2026 season. Deming Speedway, a great place to see racing on Friday nights. A lot of the future and current stars of Skagit Speedway cut their teeth at Deming Speedway each and every Friday night. The junior sprints opened up their 2026 season with Austin Harris in victory lane. Lucas Fisher, a familiar name to many fans in the Pacific Northwest, comes home in second, and DJ Sturmer rounded out the podium in the junior sprints. In the 600 restricted class, Hudson Johnson picked up the big win. Jace Metcalf second, and Logan Williams rounded out the podium. We do have some highlights in the 1200s courtesy of Fast 4 Media.
Second try, that's looking better. We're green. Drag race down the back straightaway. Derek Holmwood hopping off the ledge. He's got the lead on the opening lap. Put up high, wheel to wheel for the lead. Mitchell gonna slide all the way up and through. Kyle Mitchell takes the lead on lap 5. Vaughn making the adjustment. He's to the inside once again. Puts the left front barely on the berm and beats him to the line. New second place is Nate Vaughn. Best battle on the track is for third. Dakota Drake down low. She's gonna make the pass. As Holmwood got up into the crumbles on the far exit of 4. And to the checkered flag, opening night win, Kyle Mitchell.
Well, there are your 600 highlights. Kyle Mitchell, the winner. Nate Vaughn second, and Dakota Drake rounded out the podium in the 1200 division at Deming Speedway. We also have some more highlights with the 600s. The open class kicked off their 2026 campaign.
Tristan Thomas. Oh, might have hopped, skipped, and jumped to that green flag just a hair early. We'll see if it sticks. Thomas and Wickard with Hillier sitting third. We're back to racing. For the lead, Reese Wickard underneath Tristan Thomas in turn number 1. Thomas squirrely gives up the spot to Hillier. Thomas might be broken. We have got a red in 3. It's the 14 of Wickard leading us back. Can Hillier take away from him? Wickard got to be smart. We know how good Levi Hillier is on decision making in traffic, and Hillier's going to go up and around the outside of 1 and 2. The 14 of Wickard, I don't know what happened, but Hillier takes the lead with 10 to go, make it 9 to go. A month ago or so down in Arizona, and he'll take Deming Speedway's opening night win, sneaking around the outside.
Former Deming Speedway track champion Levi Hillier with the big win in exciting fashion. Had a couple of different leaders in that race. Tyler Chorney comes home in second, and Sawyer Baxter third. Well, the 360 Sprint Car Series, the Sprint Car Challenge Tour, kicked off their 2026 campaign at Placerville Speedway on Saturday night in exciting fashion. Winner came from 5th, and coming up in just a little bit, we'll hear from series director and series owner Scott Russell. But in the meantime, Cali Dirt TV supplied us with some highlights from Saturday night with the Sprint Car Challenge Tour.
Ready to go green, Andriotti and Robinson. Landon Brooks challenging Landon Henry down low. They'll go side by side. Up front, Jody Robinson not far behind Andriotti. Landon Brooks drifts across the groove. Landon Henry with the crossover. Off a turn 4, Landon Brooks looking to find a way by. He'll go to the bottom side. Off at turn number 2, close racing. Give the second spot to Landon Brooks. Landon Brooks with a perfect corner through 1 and 2. He's going to dive to the inside of Andriotti. Drift across the groove, and he'll be in the lead once again on lap 20. Final set of corners, Andriotti dives to the bottom. Checkered flag is going to wave. Give the win to Landon Brooks.
Well, a big congratulations to Landon Brooks on picking up his first win of the season in big fashion with the Sprint Car Challenge Tour. All those races pay $3,000 to win minimum. Originally $2,500, but a $500 boost from Kyle Larson to make him at least $3,000 to win. So a big shout out to Kyle for doing that. Jake Andriotti comes home second. One name to get to know on the West Coast. He's 14 years old. A third-place run. Landon Henry has been a mainstay on the podiums this year. That first win is coming for the 14-year-old. Jody Robinson comes home in fourth. You saw heavy smoke out of her 14 car. And Dominic Gordon comes home fifth. Scott, we'll talk about it in a little bit in the interview, but Placerville and Watsonville had a little challenge series and paid some money for the top 3 average finishers, and Dominic Gordon picked up the big money there. Well, Sprint Car Challenge Tour points after one race look like this. Landon Brooks, your points leader at 205. Jake Andreotti second, 5 points back. Jody Robinson is third, 8 markers back. Landon Henry is fourth, just 10 points back. And Dominic Gordon rounds out the top 5, 12 points back. We caught up with Saturday night's winner, Landon Brooks. Well, the SCCT opening night winner, Landon Brooks, joining the show. Landon, thanks for taking some time out of your day to hop on with us real quick. Big win on Saturday night at Placerville Speedway. How'd that feel to get that first win out of the way?
Yeah, it felt really good, especially since we kind of struggled first few races out this year. So feels good to just get a good, solid, night in from qualifying to our heat race to the dash to the main. It was just a really, really solid night for us, and felt like we, made little changes all night and just kept getting better and better. So it was a really good night for the team for sure.
What kind of statement do you feel like you guys made? To charge from fifth to the win is impressive, and I feel like as the race went on, kind of watching how things broke down, you seemed to get stronger and stronger in the later stages of the race.
Yeah, I felt like before I went out, Stephen and Kyle kind of told me just be patient and let the race come to you. So I was trying to be as patient as I could, especially after I passed him a couple of times and the yellow came out and got put back. So it definitely made it a little more challenging. I figured he would change some things up as I kept passing him or throwing a slider on him on restarts and stuff. So I was lucky enough that he slid himself that one restart, and I was able to rip the top and throw a slider on him in 3 and 4. So, I just think it shows, how much speed we have, and shows that, we've made progress each weekend, and hoping Chico gets in so we can, I feel like our 360 package has always been really, really good. So, still just I got to get comfortable myself in a 410, and, so I think it'll be a bigger statement once we win one of these NARC races, for sure.
What's it been like to work with Kyle Hurst? Kyle's, a legend when it comes to California sprint car racing and really kind of carving out his craft as a mechanic now.
Yeah, no, it's super fun. I know when he tells me to do something, I know it's most likely going to be the right thing every time. So that gives me a lot of confidence. Obviously in my team, being able to work with obviously a guy like him and a guy like Steven, just gives me that much more confidence. Going into a night or going into a situation that maybe I've never been in before that they have. So definitely helps out there a lot. So. Just thankful to be in the situation I am, to be able to work with them, and I feel like it's just going to make me better and better for sure.
As a driver, I feel like you're in a pretty unique situation. Most guys maybe have one driver they can lean on and go to. You have 2 drivers in your corner with Kyle Hurst and Steven Tyner. Did they ever maybe not argue, but have differing opinions on what you need to do with the race car? Is it both different driving styles and so forth?
Yeah, no, for sure, for sure. I feel like the first couple races this year, we kind of all been going back and forth, on each other, and just trying to find our speed and get our balance back in the race car. And yeah, obviously, Steven and Kyle are a little bit different on setup stuff, and Steven obviously does pretty much all of it, but Kyle definitely puts his 2 cents in when he feels like he needs to, which is good. Like I feel like the communication between all 3 of us is just huge, and that was one thing we made sure we focused on, is just even if might be the wrong thing or whatnot, just to say what's on our mind and say how we feel and say what we think. And I feel like it's definitely made us a lot better as a team.
Well, I think you're one of the rising stars on the West Coast. I'm excited to see what you can do in a 410 this year. NARC has a huge schedule coming up. We're looking forward to watching you on Flow Racing the next couple of weekends. Good luck.
Thank you. I'm looking forward to it.
Landon Brooks joining the show. We appreciate him taking time out of his day, and he's got a big couple of weeks coming ahead with NARC King of the West. You can watch all those races live on Flow Racing. We recently caught up with the owner of the Sprint Car Challenge Tour and series director Scott Russell, so we'll have that interview, and then we'll come back and end the show with Watsonville Speedway results and upcoming events on the West Coast. So with that being said, let's toss it to our chat with Scott Russell. Well, now joining the West Coast Dirt Report, the owner and director of the Sprint Car Challenge Tour, the biggest 360 sprint car series on the West Coast, Scott Russell. And Scott, this weekend you guys kicked off your 2026 schedule with a bang. 41 cars in the pit area. Landon Brooks picked up the big win. That had to be a great way to kick off your 2026 season.
Yeah, it's a great start. We've had a good season kicking off Placerville in general with our weekly stuff, but then having the kickoff for the SCCT and the car count we had and perfect weather and it was the perfect scenario, I guess you can say, with the weather and car count and got great support from the crowd and the fans and the racers, and good night of racing.
Running a series is a lot. Running a racetrack is a lot. How do you and Cammy balance that of being able to do both and be quite successful at both?
Yeah, I mean, it's a lot. I mean, it does. I mean, people don't understand how much goes on behind the scenes and prepping for all this stuff and everything Cammy does on her side and the office and payout. And then, when it comes to race day at Placerville, she runs everything on her side of the fence, and then I run everything on the, pit side of the fence. So we've kind of fine-tuned our roles over the years of, we know what each one of us are covering, and having the proper staff in place to help you achieve your goals and how you want to see things run and perform. I feel like every year we're still learning, even though this is the start of our 11th year being promoters. I think things are constantly evolving, and we just have to stay up with that and do our part to provide good entertainment for the fans and give the racers a great place to race.
In 2026, you guys have put together a great schedule once again. We'll take a look at what you guys have coming up. Obviously, you just kicked off your season on Saturday at your home track, Placerville Speedway, and had a great crowd, a great car count. Your next race is the Clash on the High Banks at Merced Speedway. And Merced Speedway is, I feel like, a track that always puts on a good show.
Yeah, I mean, you look at what Merced does, even around the, USAC National Midget Tour when it's out here in the fall, just before Thanksgiving, and the races they've put on there, doing kind of their own 360 open show. I think their place is comparable to ours. The higher bank, smaller bull ring, provides a lot of action, and that's what fans come for. Some of these tracks, and you guys have seen it over the years, some of the bigger tracks, the half miles and stuff, cars kind of get spread out and not as much action. The bull rings definitely get to lap traffic quicker, and there's just a lot more going on, and puts on some great shows.
Yeah, your next race, you guys head north of, at least you guys, Placerville to Marysville Raceway for the 26th Mellon Maryland Hall Memorial. And Marysville Raceway, that's a place that runs 360s weekly, so I imagine those next couple of races for you guys that whole week there when you come back to Placerville on the 30th for the Davy Thomas Memorial, that's going to be a couple of races with big car counts because you guys have a strong 360 field at each track.
Yeah, I mean, the Mel Hall has been a staple race, obviously, for a long time, and even going back to the Civil War days, it's always been on this weekend, and it's always been a great race at Marysville. And then, doing the race coming up at Placerville to honor Gary's brother that we lost way too soon. We're looking to, build that race into something special to honor him. And, last year we ran it Friday night of the Bradway weekend. The Bradway has now been moved to back to Chico, with the 410 deal and with NARC. But, hopefully we can do Davey a little honor and building this race up and honor who he was and what he meant to sprint car racing and even his whole family.
Well, the Western Sprint Tour, that's a big speed week for you guys as you guys kind of march your charge up to the Pacific Northwest Silver Dollar Speedway. You guys have a big one that way with the Tyler and Chuck Wolf Memorial, and then Placerville Speedway on the 18th of July, the Gold Pan Rampage. So, what a cool way to kick off Western Sprint Tour Speed Week in California. Then you head up north.
Yeah, I mean, we're looking forward to it. This is going to be Cammy and I's third year, doing the speed week, and it's fun for us to kind of get out and go to all these different tracks. And it's funny when you're a promoter now, and you go into these tracks and you just you look at everything so differently compared to when I was actually racing, and you just look at how the facilities operate, and I've learned stuff at each track of things they do, and try to apply some of that to our stuff. And it's a great getaway for us. Yes, it's a lot of work, but it also is a lot of fun.
Yeah, and you guys keep traveling north. You head to Oregon on the 20th, the 21st, and 22nd. Douglas County Dirt Track, Coos Bay Speedway, and then Cottage Grove Speedway in Cottage Grove. That's a place that puts on a heck of a race. Coos Bay, they're really kind of finding their footprint in the Oregon sprint car scene. And then Douglas County Dirt Track has really kind of become the track that gains a lot of attention in Oregon these days, I feel like.
Well, I mean, I think all these tracks, I mean, once again, like back when I ran the speed week when Brownfield was still alive and running it, I mean, the race cars that were up there that raced up there, basically on the weekly at, some of these tracks, Elma and so on, there was some stiff competition up there, but obviously that kind of fell off too. But you look at these tracks now and what they're establishing up in that area and giving these uh, racers a place to race and do some stuff, more often, and try to help build the 360 uh, wing stuff up there. I mean, even with the stuff you guys are doing at Skagit and working with Elma a little bit, I mean, all of that is, what we need to keep our sport alive and healthy.
Yeah, and you speak coming to Skagit. You guys are coming here that end of that week. 2 days at Skagit Speedway, July 24 and 25 at the Fred Brownfield Memorial 360 Nationals. That's a big one. That pays $26,000 to win the highest paying 360 race in the country. And then you guys cap off the Western Sprint Tour Speed Week at Grace Harbor Raceway for the Hall of Fame Tribute 360 Battle Royale. Really kind of ending the Speed Week with an exclamation point with a high paying race, $26,000 to win.
Yeah, I mean, it's going up to your guys' place, talking in that, not this last off season, but the one before, and all of us kind of getting together and talking about what we can do with this speed week and really giving us something to build on and going to Skagit and everything you guys have been doing there and everything you guys have been putting back into the sport is very refreshing and not just on the racer side of it, but even as a fellow promoter, it's hard to do. It's getting more and more expensive to do, just like it is on the racing side of it. But everybody involved in this speed week, all the tracks, we all have that passion for the sport and want to see the sport healthy and see it grow. And so, when you have that kind of mindset with everybody involved, uh, it really gives you a great foundation to build on to build this speed week into something that is long term that people can count on every single year.
Yeah, it's been fun to watch Speed Week grow. I enjoy having you guys up here, and you guys wrap up your 2026 campaign at the Stockton Dirt Track for a California legend, Gary Patterson, the 43rd annual tribute to Gary Patterson. That's a neat way to end your season.
Yeah, Tony had that uh, car accident right before the promoter's workshop, and been talking to him on the phone, and I helped up set up some of his schedule, at least for the dirt track with the Outlaw Show and what we're doing with SCCT. um Another guy that he has a lot of passion for the sport. uh has some money behind him and has a lot of crazy ideas, and he brings a lot to the table too when he can. Uh, Alan Handy and I talked, on the phone, um, between the Outlaw race and this SCCT race at the end of the year. Alan and I are going to do all the track prep together and get this show in for Tony. Tony's not up and walking on his own yet. He's got a walker and can get around, but we're just happy that he's alive and going to be here and be out at these races and support him through this hardship he's going through, and all of us coming together to make this happen is something special too.
Yeah, it really is. It's been good to see some positive thoughts or positive things coming from Tony's health from that unfortunate incident back in the winter. You guys have a great schedule this year, Scott. It's obviously all your races you can watch on CaliDirt.tv. So hopefully this weekend was a great broadcast. Gary Thomas on the call for you guys in GT, one of the best. So you guys are in good shape. Excited to watch how things shake out this year and who is crowned the SCCT champion at the end of 2026.
Yeah, obviously we had a young champion last year with Austin Wood. Another young driver, up and coming driver that I think is going to do great things in this sport. And you look at what we just did Saturday night, you had a 14-year-old finish on the podium with Landon Henry. So we got some great rookies, with Cole Croft and Landon and kids that are fast right out of the box. And then you got your staple drivers. I don't know if Forsberg's going to run the whole schedule, but I know Justin Cox talked about, running all of Placerville and SCCT and going for that bonus money. But I also want to thank the Wood family from Elk Grove Ford and their continued support to the Sprint Car Challenge Tour and ART Enterprises and Tyner Hurst and, Blake down at BR and King and, all their contingency sponsor stuff. Ed Kokenauer of Pit Stop USA, High Sierra Industries, all these people that you guys know what it takes to put all this stuff together behind the scenes and give these guys a little something to give back and race for a little bit more. It all means something in the end, but got a great staff around us once again, and look forward to another solid year and getting up there and visiting you guys up there in the Pacific Northwest.
Yeah, looking forward to seeing you at the end of July 24 and 25. We'll have a great summer, and we'll see you at the end of July, Scott.
All right. Thanks, Blake. Thanks for having me on.
Scott Russell, the owner and director of the Sprint Car Challenge Tour. Well, thank you very much to Scott Russell for joining the West Coast Dirt Report. We appreciate him for taking some time out of his day. Make sure to check out all of the Sprint Car Challenge Tour races on Cali Dirt TV. Watsonville Speedway was back in action once again this Friday night on April 3rd. Jet Barnes, the 14-year-old, picked up his first win of the season and his first win with Jason Myers Racing. And you want to talk about another 14-year-old with a load of talent. Jet Barnes turned some heads at the Chili Bowl this January when he locked into the main event at the Chili Bowl on Saturday night. Now back into victory lane. He won at Placerville last year with Clayton Snow. Now wins with Jason Myers Racing. Matt Mitri comes home in second. Caleb Montgomery third. Dominic Gordon fourth. And Jake Howlett. He has been a mainstay in the top five on these West Coast sprint car races. So going to see how many wins he can rack up this year. Jet Barnes is the points leader at Watsonville Speedway at 535 points. Jake Howlett is second, 23 markers back. Landon Henry third, 34 back. Mariah Eade is fourth, 44 back. And Adriana DiMartini rounds out the top five, 63 markers back. More sprint car racing coming up on the West Coast this week. Friday night, the first of two nights for Mini Gold Cup at Silver Dollar Speedway for the NARC King of the West Sprint Car Series. They're in action on Friday along with Deming Speedway. You can watch the NARC King of the West Sprint Car Series on Flow Racing, Deming Speedway on Fast 4 Media. Then Saturday, night two of Mini Gold Cup, $10,000 on the line for the NARC King of the West Sprint Car Series at Silver Dollar Speedway. You can get tickets on silverdollarspeedway.com or watch on Flow Racing. And Placerville Speedway, they're back in action with their second race of the year and their first of their normal weekly shows. You can watch that on CaliDirt.tv with the 360 Sprint Cars. We appreciate everyone for tuning in to another episode of the West Coast Dirt Report. If you've got anything you like or don't like, make sure to let us know in the comments. If you want to see more highlights, maybe a little bit longer, and adjust the show, let us know. We want feedback. Hit those comments. like, subscribe, share, but we want to hear from you on what you want us to do on the West Coast Dirt Report. So we're giving you guys a little bit of an option on what we do, where we go. We'll keep asking you. But if you're heading out to the races this weekend, also let us know where you're going. Whether you're going to Port Royal Speedway and you're watching out in Pennsylvania, or you're going to go to Deming Speedway here in the Northwest on Friday night. Heck, if you're going to the NARC race, let us know. And don't be afraid to tweet us at Skagit Speedway where you're watching the races from. We love seeing where you race fans are watching. And keep in mind, Play Day coming up for Skagit Speedway practice night. Free fan attendance. We do have a pit pass charge, but free fan attendance on April 18th as we kick off our Speedway, our season of Speedway action here on April 18th. Well, that's it for this week's episode of the West Coast Dirt Report. I am Blake Anderson. Eric List doing a phenomenal job producing this week's show. We appreciate you tuning in, and we'll see you next week with another episode of the West Coast Dirt Report.